Go. Thank you. Hey guys, how are you? We are live today again with another episode of Masters of Sales. And today I have very amazing person. आप लोगों ने इन companies के बारे में बहुत सुना होगा. So the company he works with is Tech Mahindra. He's the head of the marketing for APAC and India region for Tech Mahindra. And I have with me today Malhar Barai. And अभी उनसे बात करेंगे, समझेंगे कि इतने बड़े कंपनी में कैसे सेल्स एंड मार्केटिंग करते हैं लोग. हमने सिर्फ फैंसी चीज़ें सुनी है ऐसी कंपनीज के बारे में, बट अब समझना भी चाहेंगे कि यार ये होता कैसे है इतने लार्ज स्केल पे. तो बिफोर वी गो फर्दर, बिफोर आई स्टार्ट आस्किंग क्वेश्चंस फ्रॉम मल्हार, आई रियली वांटेड एंड रियली अप्रिशिएट अगर आप में से कोई बता दो दैट यू कैन हियर अस एंड यू कैन सी टू पीपल इन द स्क्रीन, and then we'll begin the journey. So I'll wait for a few seconds, Malhar, and then we'll begin the session.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you. So what time do you usually stop the work? Thanks, Archie. Thanks.
Work stop, work from home, work never stops.
Great. I
But
know
it's
that, right?
no, but it's again, it's about being passionate about what you do. Then it's not work
Hmm,
actually. So
amazing.
we
ठीक
are
है.
used to it. Yeah, got good things.
Okay, great. And we got the confirmation from few people in the comments that they are able to hear us. And these are the live audience that we have on LinkedIn listening to us right now. Thank you, Ashish. Thanks for confirming. So, ठीक है, Malhar, if you're okay and ready, we'll start. And सबसे पहले मैं तो ये बोलना चाहूँगा आपको कि मेरे पास बताने को बहुत कुछ है आपके बारे में. I have the whole list of work that you have done. बट मैं आपसे सिर्फ दो चीज़ों के बारे में पूछना चाहता हूँ. एक तो आप मुझे अपने पर्सनल सेल्फ के बारे में बताइए, लाइक हु इज मल्हार एज अ पर्सन, आपकी पर्सनल स्टोरी क्या है, फ्रॉम वेयर डू यू कम, अभी कहाँ रहते हो, एंड देन आई टॉक टू यू अबाउट योर प्रोफेशनल जर्नी, लाइक क्या काम कर रहे हैं अभी आप, एंड फ्रॉम वेयर यू हैव वर्कड इन द पास्ट.
Absolutely, and we'll love to share that story as well. So personal side pay. So basically, a good you guys settled in Bangalore, and um, work took me places honestly. And at this point of time, I'm in Bangalore, but say at the start of the journey, did my basic schooling, grad, etc. from Ahmedabad, moved to Trivandrum for my post graduation, a culture shock, as you would say, but had a very good time, good people in the state and the city. Then work-wise, again went back to Ahmedabad, spent few years there, and moved to Bangalore. Again, work took me to Pune. From Pune, there I spent about couple of years in Pune. Then again, it took me to US for some time. About spent about 6 odd months in a couple of cities. Came back to Pune, moved back to Bangalore, and been here for close to 14 years, 15 years now, and loving my time. The second journey at Bangalore from a professional point of view. Work has been crazy. Professional, personal life has been blessed with too many good things, right? And honestly, don't complain about life. That's not what I am. Uh, जैसा आता है देख लेंगे करके,
Right.
right? That's how we do things, and that's how things have been.
Okay.
Professionally, if you want to hear, you want me to continue the professional part or
ऑफ
yeah.
कोर्स. मेरे पास वैसे गुजरात को और गुज्जू को लेके बहुत क्वेश्चंस हैं, वो मैं पूछूंगा. बट थोड़ा सा प्रोफेशनल भी पूछ लेते हैं, राइट वेयर वी आर इन.
Definitely, definitely. So professionally, I call myself as an accidental marketer, right? So honestly, never studied marketing. Never in my say wildest career thought was marketing a part of the entire game.
ओके.
Uh, and I was basically a techie guy. So I did my post graduation in technology, moved into a technology role. I loved technology honestly, and I went on to co-author a book on Java and particular
ओह.
technologies. Yeah. Uh, then I moved into business roles. So about 7 8 years of experience, and that's where. So if you imagine a period that was about 14 years back, technology was kind of new and And when I was kind of into technology, the way I was doing some of those tech things, I wanted to get into an architect kind of role, right? When I went into the services industry side of the things, there were hardly any role which were like architects. So you
mm,
ultimately become a people manager, right? You become a team lead, project manager, program manager, etc. Right? So that is not the journey I wanted, right? Honestly, I don't want, did not want to get into the people management side of the things, which you become ultimately, but that was not the goal. So being a good Jew again, right? Wanted to get on the business side of the things, right? From tech to
yeah,
business side, कि धंधा कैसे चलता है, right? End of
correct.
the day, how companies as large as us get into how they do sales, how they do pre-sales, solutioning कैसे होता है, budgeting कैसे होता है, estimation कैसे होता है, right? Went on that part of the journey, went on to say did some alliance management activities where I was a partner manager for some of the bigger brands. Uh, and again, so marketing, so digital marketing came up. There was some small conversation that happened when we are trying to pitch to a certain customer. किसी ने
Mm,
पूछा मल्हार ट्विटर क्या है?
अच्छा,
I I honestly had no clue,
okay,
right? I had no clue what this platform was. मतलब है सोशल, मतलब if you remember again say 10-12 years back, right? People had that Orkut से बाहर निकले, बस
right,
हमको नहीं चाहिए सोशल media wala stuff,
yeah,
right? We don't want to the stuff.
yeah,
So that's
correct,
where but when I saw this Twitter, Facebook of the world, and like I said, I had gone to US for a business trip. I saw a lot of people using it, and somewhere at back of my mind, I thought it is this technology or anything that those platforms that are coming up are kind of democratizing communication, right?
mm,
Now, what I mean by that is, see, until that point of time, you as a consumer, right, if you want to convey anything to a brand, any
mm,
feedback to a brand, you had no means to do it, right? You would have
mm,
an email ID कहीं पे देखा होगा, or you will have a postal address of it. आप कभी किसी ने mail किया होगा, I don't know,
mm,
right?
yeah,
And then you have to pray कि बस they will respond or they will listen to whatever feedback. It is positive, negative, whatever feedback, right?
right,
This thing, right? Say thing like social media, suddenly, right? That kind of gave a way for people to directly give those feedback to the brands, right? Again, I'm not saying negative, only the positive part of that. From a brand side, right? It also made them accessible to people, right? उनको भी कोई जरिया नहीं था कि फीडबैक मिले कि मैंने प्रोडक्ट लॉन्च कर दिया है, what is the feedback, right? They will do a
yeah,
small survey, but वही small survey 100-200 लोगों का in the country of billion people, right?
yeah,
You cannot judge from sample size, right? So that's where this thing clicked, right? This is entirely changing the way how we'll communicate. So
mm,
I started delving further into it and went on to learn more about Twitter in the social media world and how things work. And see, many of us during that point of time, right? Like very open, everyone was very open, and whatever they learned, they will share, right? So that community was very small. So they used to share whatever they are learning, कहाँ से कौन गलती कर रहा है, तो how the audience is behaving, right? So that's how that entire journey started. So I'll cut my answer short, but that's how that entire journey started. And so again, within the organization, we got opportunity to work with the digital marketing and the marketing teams. So last 5 years plus, I'm managing the global digital marketing for Tech Mahindra, as well as the other role that, like you mentioned, I also head the marketing for Asia Pacific, Japan, and India region. So that's
yeah.
the professional
बहुत
nature
बड़ा
of
रूल है जो आप बहुत ही हंसी के अंदर से निकाल दिया आपने हल्के में एकदम।
नहीं, मजेदार है।
सही है, सही है। आप मुझे ये बताओ आप खुद गरबा करते हो?
बिल्कुल नहीं, आई एम born with
बिल्कुल।
worst kind of two left feet. So I
पर
can't even
आपकी फैमिली
imagine.
में तो लोग करते होंगे मतलब उनको
Oh,
तो आता होगा।
absolutely, absolutely. There are
अच्छा,
people who love it, right? They
तो
can dance.
तो कभी ट्राई नहीं किया आपने?
Honestly, नहीं किया. I don't want to make a joke of myself. And,
बट लोग बोलते
and
तो होंगे ना, स्पेशली लाइक मेरी assumption यही हुई, जैसे आपने बोला मैं गुज्जू हूँ, राइट? तो मेरे को बहुत क्यूरियोसिटी हुई यार, गरबा तो आता होगा। तो मतलब लोगों का भी ऐसे रिएक्शन रहता है या खाली मैं ही हूँ ऐसा जिसने आपसे पूछा?
नहीं नहीं, काफी लोग इसलिए दे विल
अच्छा।
लिटरली पुल मी ऑन दैट थिंग, एंड बस मैं बोला यार ये मेरे बस की चीज नहीं है, आप
हाँ,
मुझे बख्श दो यार।
अच्छा।
बट दैट्स अ
चलो
सेल्फ
सही है,
दैट
मूव
आई
ऑन
लीड।
करते हैं गरबा से। तो अब मुझे ये बताइए, लाइक यू सेड यू को-ऑथर्ड अ बुक ऑफ ऑन जावा, राइट? वो टेक्नोलॉजी माइंडसेट की वजह से आपको मार्केटिंग, स्पेशली डिजिटल मार्केटिंग जहाँ पे ऑब्वियसली टेक्नोलॉजी का बहुत यूज होता है, राइट? यू डू एसईओ, यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड हाउ वेबसाइट्स फंक्शन, हाउ यू नो दी ऑन साइट की अगर हम बात करते हैं, खासकर ऑन ऑन पेज एसईओ की अगर हम बात करते हैं, तो वो तो वैसे भी टेक्नोलॉजी ड्रिवन बहुत होता जा रहा है आजकल। आजकल तो ऑटोमेटेड टूल्स आने लग गए हैं जो आपके वेबसाइट स्कैन करके ऑटोमेटेड एसईओ करते रहते हैं। तो डू यू थिंक दैट बिकॉज ऑफ दिस बैकग्राउंड of technology in Java, you were able to pull off this role really well. क्या आपको लगता है उसकी वजह से काफी फरक पड़ा है? If yes, then do you have any experiences to share on that note?
Absolutely, absolutely. No, honestly, yes, right. And I always believe that my background in technology helped me a lot as a digital marketer. And see, the first job that I did was with a small agency where we were literally developing websites. But again, say looking back at my career, right, about 20 years back, you can imagine the only thing we could do on the SEO part was add keywords on the keyword tag, and you can still rank because that's the world. But then, say, we were the earliest to have those programmatic website. The
Right.
पहले JS, uh, Java or servlets और वो सब होता था, right, from a
Hmm.
programming perspective. So, well, I know that there were certain things that I did was like first time in the entire city. No one in the city literally had done it from an agency perspective. No one had that. And then because this
Can
agency,
you share some anecdotes or perhaps specific examples on that note if you remember?
I will. So I'll take you this particular role when I took over the digital
Hmm.
marketing role in Tech Mahindra, right? And
Ah,
so
sure.
as a website, right? So website, if you look at Tech Mahindra's website at this point out, it is very good. But the previous one, right? We had a lot of it was something that was created about say 7 8 years back, and it had its own challenges. So when I looked at that website, right, and see again from a corporate structure, if you understand, right, website would be managed by the technology teams and not the marketing teams, right? So when I started giving feedback to the टेक्नोलॉजी टीम की बॉस नहीं यहाँ पे आप कुकीज को ऐसे हैंडल करो राइट और अगेन से यू चेंज योर से द पॉपअप्स आर कमिंग दैट पॉपअप शुड नॉट कम you have to put your code in a certain fashion only, right? And then that project manager literally came on a call with me, boss आप क्या कर रहे हो, right? Because the marketing team never gave them a technical feedback, right? तो then he sat beside me and literally boss आप बताओ मुझे क्या क्या करना है, right? So honestly that change, right, as a so I always say the marketing technologist kind of started coming in during that time, say about 5 years back when the technology part of marketing started it. So there are a few others like that, right? So again from an SEO perspective, right, so when
Hmm.
say Google Analytics को setup करना है, पूरी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में किसी को पता नहीं है कि कैसे सेटअप करना है, राइट? एंड देन
Hmm.
वी गो बैक टेल द टीम्स दैट बॉस नहीं है ये करो ऐसे करो, राइट? यू पुट योर कोड हियर, यहाँ हेडर पे रखो, यो फुटर पे रखो. So that gave a lot of confidence to my own marketing team members कि बस नहीं ये कुछ जानता है, so is a good fit, right? From a technology or the team that used to manage the website, they also felt confident कि नहीं at least there is someone who understands, because whatever they say, telling them in a marketing fashion was often difficult, right? Because marketing
Hmm.
team जाके बोलेगा मुझे तो ये चाहिए तुम कैसे करते हो मुझे पता नहीं
Right.
है, right?
Right.
So those things helped, right? So that's
So when you hire people, अब अपने नीचे obviously you have a lot of huge team to look after various things that you do. तो जब आप लोगों को हायर करते हो, डू यू हैव दिस बायस कि मैं उन लोगों को ज्यादा प्रेफर करूं, इवन इन द केस ऑफ ब्रांड मार्केटिंग, नॉट टेक्निकल मार्केटिंग रोल, जो नॉर्मल ब्रांड मार्केटिंग रोल्स होते हैं या कंटेंट मार्केटिंग के रोल होते हैं, डू यू हैव दिस बायस कि यार मैं उन लोगों को हायर करूँ जिनका थोड़ा-सा बैकग्राउंड कहीं न कहीं टेक्नोलॉजी का रहा है?
Honestly, no. Right?
ओके,
I love to have fresh ideas because the way I also got opportunity, right?
या,
Say as a brand, right? You can imagine this brand, right? It's a huge one, right? Giving someone who has no knowledge of marketing, even an opportunity to get into marketing, learn
करेक्ट,
about it, right? Manage the digital channels, right? Because
हुँ,
I previously I had never managed any digital platforms. The only thing I managed was my own personal accounts, right?
हुँ,
So when I got an opportunity, so I always love to ensure get people who have some kind of कि बस मुझे जज्बा होना चाहिए राइट इफ आई हैव टू
हुँ,
पुट इन अ वेरी चास्ट हिंदी राइट
हुँ,
कि ये करना है हमको राइट एंड
हुँ,
दैट्स द ओनली थिंग दैट आई लुक फॉर बिकॉज बाकी सारा स्किल सीखा यू कैन ऑलवेज लर्न थिंग्स
हुँ,
राइट डिजिटल मार्केटिंग एंड ऑफ द डे the entry barrier for as a digital marketer is nothing, right? Anyone who can post an update is a digital marketer, right?
हुँ,
But the nuances, ki boss, how do you understand the audience, right? How when is that audience active? How
हुँ,
do you ensure your post or whatever you're posting even organically gets a better ROI, right?
हुँ, हुँ,
And paid ka to alag hi game hai. So
हुँ,
all these
करेक्ट,
things.
करेक्ट। मुझे ये बताओ, मैंने ना बहुत बार ऑब्ज़र्व किया है और मैं समझ नहीं आ रहा पूछूँ या ना पूछूँ, बट व्हेनेवर आई गो टू अ वेबसाइट ऑफ अ वेरी लार्ज ब्रांड, लाइक
Mhm.
टीसीएस की बात कर लेते हैं या टेक महिंद्रा की बात कर लेते हैं, जो इस स्केल के जो ब्रांड्स होते हैं ना, उनकी वेबसाइट्स थोड़ी-सी ऐसी होती है, बहुत कॉम्प्लेक्स और कन्फ्यूज़िंग, समझ ही नहीं आता कि करते क्या हैं ये। तो ऐसा आपको ये जानबूझ के बनाया जाता है कि यार छोटे-मोटे लोगों को तो समझ ही ना आए कि क्या क्या कर रहे हैं हम। सिर्फ़ बड़े हैं जिनका दिमाग है वही समझ पाएँ और वही हमारे पास आएँ। ये फंडा क्या है? मुझे ये समझना है आपसे।
Can't be self-critical, so I will I will try to be politically correct on this
हाँ,
answer.
अब मैंने
Right.
फँसा दिया आपको देखो, अब तो मैंने
हाँ,
फँसा
नहीं,
है, अब आपको आंसर
right.
देना
True.
पड़ेगा।
So so it's not by design, but the
हाँ,
way say we work, right? So
हाँ,
say the customers that we work with, right?
या,
End of the day, they have to see कि हम लोग फ्रॉम अ टेक्नोलॉजी एस्पेक्ट कि क्या
राइट,
करने वाले हैं क्या कर सकते हैं राइट
राइट,
सो समटाइम्स इट इज नॉट द कॉम्प्लिकेटेड पार्ट ऑफ द थिंग्स सी वी कैनॉट बी एन एप्पल राइट
हुँ,
तीन
हुँ,
तीन
हुँ,
वर्ड में वी कैनॉट टेल दैट माई फोन इज बिगर बेटर
हुँ,
faster right but say the way we put it, right? So if you look at the Tech Mahindra website right now, the philosophy that we follow, we
हुँ,
call it next dot now, right? So that is the philosophy we call. And the reason we call that way, so uska pura philosophy document bhi hai, if you go on the website. The intent is कि 3 साल पहले राइट और 2.5 साल पहले वी यूज टू से अनलॉक द नेक्स्ट टू ऑल द एंड द रीजन फॉर दैट दोस टू थिंग्स वाज टू अवर कस्टमर्स हम लोग बोल रहे थे कि आपका जो आने वाला जो जर्नी है राइट वी विल हेल्प यू इन ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन राइट
हुँ,
सो 2.5 साल पहले वी यूज टू से वी विल हेल्प यू अनलॉक योर नेक्स्ट राइट दैट पार्ट ऑफ द जर्नी
हुँ, हुँ,
बट
हुँ,
then what happened right your covid etc unfortunately that situation came along but it accelerated the requirement for transformation
हुँ,
right लोगों को digital जल्दी जाना था right
हुँ,
someone who had planned 2 years or 3 years later right they wanted to do their things now right
हुँ,
next वाला journey हो गया now so
या,
that's the
ओके।
next dot now
ये
again if
कितना
you
कितना जल्दी, हाउ डायनामिक इज़ दिस? लाइक फॉर एग्ज़ाम्पल आपने बोला कोविड का वो ये केस हुआ एंड फ्रॉम नेक्स्ट टू नाउ, सो हाउ फ्रीक्वेंट और आई वुड से हाउ एजाइल, हाउ डायनामिक, यू नो द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एट सच ए लार्ज स्केल इज़ कि यार इतनी जल्दी ये शिफ्ट कर लिया इमीडिएटली बिकॉज़ इतना शॉक था लोगों के बीच में कि वो सोचना कि काम कैसे करना है वही बहुत बड़ी बात थी एंड यू गाइस हैड दिस विजन कि यार ये अब ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन जो जर्नी है वो नेक्स्ट से नाउ होगी और आपने उसको पूरा चेंज कर दिया। लाइक इट्स अ वेरी बिग थिंग टू डू एट सच अ लार्ज ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। ये कैसे होता है?
It was, and thankfully, I guess, on ground teams, right? People. So basically, what we call it, or our CEO calls it is bias for action, right?
हुँ, हुँ,
बस कुछ भी हो जाए करना है,
Hmm.
right? And that's, I guess, at certain levels there were people who used to follow that motto, and they used to ensure it is done, right? And honestly, I cannot single out people. There were set of teams who ensured, right? You won't believe there were people on not full-time employees also, right? There were some
uh,
people on contractual roles. They also were part of this journey, right? They,
Hmm.
Tabhi, you know how dynamic the situation was. People never knew
Right.
ki kal kya hoga, right?
Right.
But at that point of time, ensuring a person who's sitting at home gets a desktop or a laptop delivered to their home, right?
Hmm.
मतलब that was incredible. I say every people first is like thinking कि बॉस एक बंदे को, मेरा पूरा टीम है 50 लोगों का, उनके घर पे, right? They may not have a laptop or a desktop or any
Hmm.
kind of connectivity at times,
Right.
right? How do we enable that entire end-to-end journey,
Hmm.
right? And then ensure that my projects, right, my customers do not suffer, right? वहां पे भी डाउन टाइम नहीं होना चाहिए।
Hmm.
लोगों के पास नहीं है लैपटॉप, तो 10 लोग कौन से हैं जिनके पास एक्टिव कनेक्टिविटी है, जिनके
Hmm.
पास लैपटॉप्स, एंड वी इंश्योर जीरो डाउन टाइम।
Hmm.
At the same time, there were also, so we call it as business continuity procedures, right? BCPs, right? अगर इंडिया बंद हो गया तो
Hmm.
दूसरा लोकेशन खड़ा हो सकता है,
Hmm.
राइट?
Hmm.
यहाँ पे तो ये हाल था कि पूरी दुनिया बंद हो गई,
दुनिया बंद है, करेक्ट।
right? So that BCP cannot be activated, right? Business
हम्म।
continuity plan cannot be activated क्योंकि सब कुछ बंद है, right? You have no access to your offices, or zero, almost zero access, right?
हम्म।
So that is right. Some teams bias for action, and I guess it holds true for every one of us, right? Whatever we are doing, you have bias for action, हो जाता है काम।
हम्म। मैं आपसे ना अब कुछ स्पेसिफिक चीजें पूछूंगा सो दैट द ऑडियंस गेट टू नो मोर डीपर अबाउट द वर्क दैट यू डू, ठीक है?
हम्म।
सो हम बात कर रहे हैं टेक महिंद्रा की अभी, राइट? द वर्क you're heading द मार्केटिंग, डिजिटल मार्केटिंग एशिया पैसिफिक इंडिया। तो हम प्रोडक्ट के ऊपर बात करते हैं कि टेक महिंद्रा या जो अभी आप रोल कर रहे हो उसमें यू आर इनटू सर्विस बिजनेस, राइट?
Absolutely.
जस्ट अ सेकंड, मैं एक बार, सो सॉरी। Yeah.
No
So
worries.
you're talking about the service, digital transformation services की हम बात कर रहे हैं, which is very different from a product selling perspective, right? So service के केस में, especially when your target audience is a huge or a large enterprise, if I'm not wrong,
Absolutely.
right? This is what you
Absolutely.
do. You target the large enterprises on a very different scale. तो उनको अप्रोच करने का, उनको टारगेट करने का क्या तरीका सही रहता है एज पर योर एक्सपीरियंस डीलिंग डे इन डे आउट, ब्रीदिंग डे आउट ऑफ टारगेटिंग सच बिग अकाउंट्स? हाउ डू यू और हाउ वन कंपनी शुड गो अबाउट दैट?
Nice question, right? And honestly, so there are two part of it, right? So one is your business branding, your demand generation, etc., right? The other part is talent branding also,
Hmm.
right? Because end of the day, we are still a people organization, right? So I have to ensure I have the right people. So how do I first is ensure that my organization, like you mentioned, कि बहुत complicated है, but from a talent perspective, अगर मैं जावा का बंदा हूँ, राइट?
Hmm.
एंड आई गो टू माय वेब, द वेबसाइट ऑफ एनी ब्रांड, एंड आई सी समथिंग रिलेटेड टू जावा हैपनिंग देयर, देन आई विल बी अट्रैक्टेड कि नहीं बॉस, लेट मी सी उसका कल्चर कैसा है, हाउ डू दे वर्क, एटसेट्रा, राइट? Presence कहाँ है? So all those talent branding, so that is one part of the investment. The second part, like you say, from a business perspective, right? One is your basic brand building, other is the demand generation part. So brand building is, it comes across various activities that we do in terms of, say, telling people about Tech Mahindra, doing some of the sessions like what you are doing right now. We do a lot of LinkedIn lives, right? We do physical events. We part, say, for MWC, we were at Mobile World Congress. So, thing is being seen, heard physically and virtually, right? Ensuring that we have connect, right? The second part of it, where the demand generation kicks in, right? So from that, that entire process works in a way that every year, right, your strategy sessions or the planning sessions, we will identify कि बॉस कितने अकाउंट और कौन से अकाउंट को टारगेट करना है, right, or who are the customers we want to target. And there's a huge list, there are 4,000 5,000 companies का list बनेगा, right. Now in this 5,000 companies, right, what do we want to do with each of them, right, उसको segment करते जाएंगे, right. Now for that a certain segment, say for example cloud ले लेते हैं, right. Now cloud business में मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ, what is my capabilities on cloud, right, I'm just taking an example. So I will start positioning my services, my capabilities to those segment, right? Assuming चलो segment 1,000 companies का segment है, right?
Hmm.
उनको मैं बताता रहूँगा कि this is the things that we do. How do we tell them, right? Again, for them we will find various touch points. Some of them will be our existing customers. तो उनको हम लोग at the account level will go and say we'll do account based marketing, right? जहाँ पे हम लोग उनके स्टेक होल्डर, CIO, CXO सब जो भी होगा उनको कैसे भी करके मार्केटिंग करेंगे. People who are not our customers, right? So we will use an omni-channel marketing strategy, right? So जहाँ पे एक physical event भी होगा, एक then it will be followed by digital, say your targeting, etc. So at any given point of time, right, we will be running multiple digital campaigns targeting different regions, different customers, different segments, etc, all those things again. So once your drip campaign and all those things will start, right, and then it goes on to the sales guys and say boss, these are the MQLs that are there, right, the marketing qualified leads, अभी आप जाके उनसे बात करो, right, because and personally this is my personal opinion, right, the sales guy should not be going and talking about the company,
Hmm.
right. He should be going there ideally to close the sales
Hmm.
about the company, about the product, about the service, etc.
Marketing
Marketing should have conveyed that thing, right,
already.
अगर वो
Yeah.
नहीं किया है, because then you are wasting the sales guy, वो जाके आपका कंपनी का डेक दिखाएगा, right, that's a waste of 1 hour, right, instead of that he should be closing the sale, right? So
Hmm.
this typically is the flow, again
So
at a very
how do
high
you
level.
how do you ensure that the marketing team, so you assumingly you have a marketing team which separates out the marketing qualified leads, and
Right,
then you all those leads that are checked and ensured that these are MQL are only passed to the sales team to do that, right? Because
absolutely.
that's the only way to do to make sure that these people are covered and they are already aware of all the things that Tech Mahindra is doing, and their work is to just there to close it.
Right.
Now, मैं ये समझना चाह रहा हूँ कि इस पूरे प्रोसेस का साइकिल टाइम conversion ka, right from the moment it comes to you and then a closure happens, ideally it would be 5 to 6 months or
Three to
even
eight
more than
months.
that.
Anything between 3 to 8 months.
Correct. How do you also try and do some experiments? If yes, do you have any example to share जहाँ पे हम ये समझ पाए कि आपका ये साइकिल टाइम के ऊपर काफी काम हुआ है कि आपने उसको पहले 1 साल था उसको ब्रॉड डाउन करके कैसे कम किया?
Experiment, I'll tell you the failure part of it, right?
हाँ,
And that's an
sure.
interesting point, right? And
Yeah.
as a digital marketer, right, say some of the earliest campaigns, right? And from a textbook perspective, right, जैसे हम सीखते हैं हर जगह, right? आपको you have to target that audience in a nice way, ensure you are targeting the decision makers, right? So and then you have nice creatives, you have good landing page. So हमने I set all those things, right? अच्छा सा लैंडिंग पेज था, राइट, मिनिमल टेक्स्ट, नाइस कॉल टू एक्शन, क्रिएटिव वाज वेरी गुड, राइट. देन व्हेन इट केम टू टारगेटिंग, राइट, मैंने बोला यार डिसीजन मेकर्स को टारगेट करना है, ठीक है, लेट मी टारगेट CXOs, राइट. उससे ज्यादा डिसीजन मेक, उससे बड़ा डिसीजन मेकर कौन है, राइट. ये ने बोल
Hmm.
दिया ये करना है या ये प्रोडक्ट लेना है या ये सर्विस में इन्वेस्ट करना है, राइट. नो वन कैन चैलेंज हिम, राइट, हिम
Yeah.
और हर. Now when I started the campaign,
Hmm.
no traction,
Okay.
zero, right, कोई
Hmm.
click नहीं आ रहा है, कोई conversion नहीं आ रहा है, right. 2 weeks because I had like about $7,000 $8,000 for that particular campaign.
mm,
जीरो कन्वर्जन, राइट? इंप्रेशंस मिल रहा है, वो भी मुश्किल से कुछ तो इंप्रेशन मिल रहा है, बट नो क्लिक्स, राइट? एब्सोल्युटली नो क्लिक्स,
mm,
राइट? 2 वीक हुआ कैंपेन का, नथिंग, नथिंग हैज मूव्ड.
mm,
Stop the campaign, right? And we started analyzing, right? Because the boss was also like, boss ये क्या हो रहा है, तुमने
mm, mm,
इतना अच्छा सब सेट किया है. Went back to my CXOs,
mm,
उनको पूछा भैया आप कैसे यूज करते हो when you see those
mm.
kind of ads, or when you see this,
Right.
like they are like, we don't want to use LinkedIn, or we don't use LinkedIn.
Mm,
मुझे मुझे क्यों जाना है LinkedIn पे,
right.
right? If for people like us, we either go to study someone, like research on someone. If like say your team would have researched on me, right? They would have gone to my LinkedIn profile, etc. Right? We go there to research on someone, or probably a product, or we go there to study about a certain brand or anything, right? For a CXO, that research is done by is minus one,
Mm,
minus two, right?
yeah.
उनको जान वो, and so they told me that we hardly visit once or twice a year, right?
Oh.
So, and that's the eureka moment ki boss, you don't target the CXOs when typically you are dealing on a B2B cycle, right? Like ours, right? Your CXO are not the users. Your target
Yeah.
is your program managers who are an influencer, not a decision
Correct.
maker.
Yeah. Absolutely.
To a director or a vice president, right? Because the
Yeah.
moment you go to a president also, while he's a decision maker, उसके पास time नहीं है देखने के लिए.
Mm, mm,
So that is where you have to align your. So that is where that was the learning, right? So that was the
right.
learning that we had. So just thought
Got
it
it.
will be good for your audience to
Yeah,
hear
of
that.
course. इसमें मेरे दो फॉलो अप क्वेश्चंस हैं, डिफरेंट
Mhm.
डिफरेंट टाइप के हैं. पहला क्वेश्चन तो ये है कि um, so अब आप मार्केटिंग करते हो, यू ऑब्वियसली हैव ऑर्गेनिक, यू हैव एसईओ, यू हैव पेड एड्स रनिंग ऑन वेरियस चैनल्स, गूगल पे भी होंगे, लिंक्डइन पे भी होंगे, टारगेटिंग डिफरेंट सेट ऑफ पीपल.
गूगल पे नहीं है.
अच्छा, गूगल पे
Hold on.
नहीं है.
I'll tell you the reason, right? And that
अच्छा.
also should be good for your audience,
या.
right?
हाँ.
When you look at some of those technology keywords, right?
हाँ.
Super expensive, three
हम्म.
hundred dollars, $500, right?
जस्ट फॉर अ क्लिक.
Just for a click,
ओह शिट. या. इट्स
right?
ह्यूज.
That's what, like,
ये मैं तो मैं घर घर जाके बता दूंगा लोगों को.
exactly, they can't afford, right?
या.
Even for an organization of our size, right? I
या.
can't afford, right,
हम्म.
to do those kind of campaigns, and they are, right? So that's where, if
But
you
did you
see,
ever tried experimenting that in the
we
past?
did. That's where we found that was stay away
हाँ.
from it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Invest in your SEO, right?
Hmm.
Because see, given the size of the organization, and at least in India, right,
Hmm.
you will always get huge audience, right? Huge traffic. एसईओ मेरे लिए बहुत इजी है,
Hmm.
बिकॉज ऑडियंस मुझे मिल ही जाएगा,
Hmm.
राइट? आई डोंट हैव टू वरी अबाउट, सी, फॉर मी गेटिंग say 150,000, 200,000 clicks or visits a month is very easy
Hmm.
for any brand of my size, right?
Hmm.
For that
Hmm.
matter. So
Correct.
एसईओ बहुत इजी हो जाता है, एंड सो दैट्स वेयर वी स्टार्टेड लेवरेजिंग और डिसाइडेड टू लेवरेज ऑन द एसईओ पार्ट ऑफ द थिंग्स, राइट? रादर देन डू द एसईएम बिट.
एसईओ आपका एक इस रीजन से भी थोड़ा इजी हो जाता है ना, बिकॉज पीपल कीप गिविंग यू बैकलिंक्स
Absolutely.
automatically. Right?
Absolutely.
The major difficult problem of a brand who is trying to establish themselves is how do they get the backlinks for their business, because Google obviously ranks you higher. बट आपके केस में इतनी बड़ी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है कि रोज कोई ना कोई चैटर कर रहा होता है टेक महिंद्रा के बारे में. Right? मैंने
Absolutely.
पोस्ट डाला कि मैं इनवाइट कर रहा हूँ आपको, मैंने 4 बैकलिंक्स दे दी. सो जस्ट हाउ दिस इज हाउ a large scale organization acquire the backlinks automatically, which in turn feeds in the Google search engine for your improvement of the search. अब मेरे को एक follow up question ये था कि lot of times when you invest lot of money in these campaigns, SEO, आपके पास बहुत सारे ऐसे businesses भी होते होंगे जो आपके टारगेट अकाउंट्स नहीं है. आउट ऑफ दोस 4,500, 5,000 businesses that you wanted to pitch and reach out, बट उसके अलावा भी ऐसे होते होंगे जो खुद से आते होंगे. डू यू
Yeah.
टारगेट एंड एंटरटेन बिजनेस? तो सबको चाहिए, बट क्या ऐसा होता है कि यार इनको नहीं करना बिकॉज दे आर नॉट आवर टारगेट अकाउंट्स, और डू यू ऑब्वियसली वांट टू पिच देम एंड सेल देम आल्सो?
No, no, no. Always, we are always hungry for business. ना.
या.
कौन मतलब
कौन छोड़ेगा?
कौन, हाँ, कौन छोड़ेगा, क्यों छोड़ेगा, राइट?
करेक्ट।
And my sales guy will be happy now. मतलब, see, from their perspective, right? If even if one leads come in organically, right?
या,
So say from a say website perspective, right? So there are a lot of inbound leads also come,
ट्रू,
right? So because again, like sheer size of the organization there, but at the same time, right? This volume of those conversation that is coming in, and that picking that right signals, right,
हम्म,
that right lead is often challenging, right? So
हम्म,
uske liye bhi there are bunch of people who will so whenever you put an inquiry form on the website, right, there are bunch of people who will go back and call these people and try to
हम्म,
understand, was is this really a lead
या,
for us?
फाइनली।
Then yeah, then
डू यू
if
हैव एनी नंबर कि ज्यादा बेटर कन्वर्जन आपको किस में मिला, आउटबाउंड में या इनबाउंड में? लाइक व्हेन यू टारगेट अकाउंट्स दैट यू हैव 4000 5000, उनको जब आप रीच आउट करते हो उसमें ज्यादा बेटर कन्वर्जन मिलता है, या समवन wherein the lead came in directly out of those 4000
No, no,
people?
it will always see for an organization of our size, right? The outbound will always be bigger, right? Because the sheer size of the deals, right?
Hmm.
You'll not have a 1 million, 2 million deal coming as an inbound lead, right?
Right.
Inbound
Correct.
lead आएगा वो 100K, 200K, 300K वाला
Hmm.
आएगा, right?
Hmm.
But again, so the sales guy will literally have to look at those leads and say कि बॉस इसमें से मुझे ये 100K में से 1 million कर सकता हूँ क्या, right?
Hmm.
So all
अपसेल हो
those,
सकता है या नहीं हो सकता है?
exactly.
या, ओके, गॉट इट। अब मेरे को सेकंड क्वेश्चन पूछना है कि सेकंड तो पता नहीं कितने क्वेश्चन पूछ लिए मैंने, सेकंड डोंट नो, बट जो मेरा क्वेश्चन वो ये है कि ओमनी चैनल मार्केटिंग की आपने बात की, यू टॉक्ड अबाउट दैट अ लॉट। नाउ उसमें हमारे बहुत सारे चैनल्स होते हैं, बहुत सारे मीडियम्स होते हैं। कैन यू इलैबोरेट मोर ऑन द ओमनी चैनल पार्ट? एंड मेरे को एक फॉलो अप इसके बाद एक और क्वेश्चन है जो पहले से ही रेडी है, वो ये है, यू टॉक्ड अबाउट लिंक्डइन लाइव सेशंस, ठीक है? तो मैं इसको मानता हूँ इट्स अ वेरी सटल फॉर्म ऑफ मार्केटिंग, राइट?
Absolutely.
सो आपका उसके ऊपर क्या एक्सपेरिमेंट के बाद रिजल्ट्स रहा? हाउ ऑफन यू डू इट, हाउ डू यू डू इट, व्हेन डिड यू प्लान डूइंग इट? आप मेजर कैसे करते हो उसका सक्सेस? दो
Nice
क्वेश्चंस अलग अलग
question.
होंगे।
Nice. I'll take the second one first because it is closer to my heart, right?
या,
So
या,
I have always loved the power of live streaming, right?
हम्म।
As a person also, right? So
इसलिए आपने
uh,
एग्री किया क्या आने के लिए?
no, I love it, and so I will say the first live streaming show in India, right?
हाँ।
वो मेरा था,
अच्छा, ओके, दैट्स
right?
अमेजिंग।
So, so there used to be a platform called Blab,
या,
BLAB,
या,
right? That was about 7, 8 years back,
हम्म, हम्म,
right? And I used to host that along with a professor from MICA called Falguni Vasavadauza, right?
या, आई हर्ड द नेम।
Yeah, so both of us used to host it on Blab. Then Blab shut down after a while, right? So we used to have a show called Blab to Learn,
हम्म,
right? देन फिर सोशल समोसा के साथ कुछ
हाँ,
टाइम किया, राइट? वी
राइट,
यूज्ड टू डू अ यूट्यूब लाइव, बट देन अगेन आवर schedules were kind of not matching, and we pulled it off. But like I said, I always believed in power of live streaming. It's a very good medium to, one is, see, I always say people love to see the human side of a brand,
या,
right? How much can you humanize the brand? And that's where I believe power of live streaming comes in.
हम्म,
Example, yoga day आपको पता होगा, right?
राइट,
Yoga day, world yoga day was launched in 2015 or 2016, modi
हम्म,
uh, modi's second year, right?
राइट,
Now, so again, if you look at the launch part of it, अगर वीडियो देखोगे, my
हम्म,
CEO was called onto the stage along with Mr. Modi at the UN, right? So we were part of that entire yoga day ka launch. The
हम्म,
way we structured that launch, right? That entire launch part was, we did those Twitter lives
हम्म,
from various locations across the world. We got our customers to do yoga. We went
ओह,
to airports and got some of the passengers to do yoga at a airport, right? and we did live streaming of all those things,
Hmm.
right? All those events. So that's where it was the people side of the brand, right? I can always say कि योगा डे में मैंने हम लोगों ने किया था, but क्या किया था, right?
Correct.
Then the
Especially
second,
for business to business brand doing
right?
marketing of consumer kind of appeal. You know, yoga day is more of a consumer kind of appeal, and वैसे भी लोगों को आप एयरपोर्ट पे जाके करा रहे हो, उनको मतलब ही नहीं. टू बी ऑनेस्ट, टेक महिंद्रा एंटरप्राइज लेवल का ब्रांड है, इस टाइप के लोगों को
सीईओ
नहीं कर.
ट्रैवल करता है ना,
हाँ, वो
right?
ट्रैवल
It,
करते हैं.
हाँ, right. So that is the, so how do you get that mind share,
या,
right? It's a very subtle way of
करेक्ट.
branding, right? Second thing is thought leadership,
हम्म.
right? See, recently we did a LinkedIn live around digital rupee, right?
हम्म.
See, finance minister ने तो बोल दिया डिजिटल रुपी लॉन्च करेंगे, क्रिप्टो वालों की बैंड बज गई, सब ठीक है,
हम्म.
right?
हम्म.
But what actually it entails, right? So, say declassification of what exactly is digital rupee and how that will be. So, those kind of sessions, right? Say today morning we had a session around cloud transformation, etc. So, we keep on doing those things from a thought leader. कि उसमें से see you, it's not a lead generation thing, right? It's purely thought leadership. How
हम्म.
I can show कि भैया अगर आप हमको प्रोजेक्ट दे रहे हैं तो हमारे पास लोग हैं जो समझते हैं टेक्नोलॉजी को,
हम्म.
दे अंडरस्टैंड द इंडस्ट्री, दे अंडरस्टैंड
हम्म.
द टेक्नोलॉजी, एंड yes, we can be good partners for you. So
राइट.
that's
राइट.
how the brand building works.
राइट. आई नो दैट वी हैव टू डू हार्ड स्टॉप एट 7, तो
Yeah.
हमारे पास टाइम बहुत कम बचा हुआ है. तो एक दो क्वेश्चंस जो आए हुए हैं मैं सिर्फ आपसे वही पूछूंगा. मेरे पास बहुत क्वेश्चंस है टू बी ऑनेस्ट. इसके पास फॉलो अप के भी इतने क्वेश्चंस है कि मैं पूछता जाऊंगा, बट हमारे पास टाइम कम है, तो इसलिए जो एक दो क्वेश्चंस लोगों के आए हुए हैं मैं सिर्फ वही पूछता हूँ आपसे. सो one of the question that Sirish Mishra has mentioned,
Hmm.
I'm putting it on the screen, is that SIIT business
Huh,
as a
oh,
whole
I got that in
and
CFM
based
based
on
on.
offerings. How does a marketing thought look to have an integrated yet impactful MQL funnel coming in?
Nice one, Shirish. So again, so whenever we are doing those campaigns, like your targeted campaigns, right? That persona is registered in terms of okay, we are going to target a director of uh, an organization or a retail industry which has revenues about 100 million plus
Hmm.
and has presence in India only, क्योंकि हमको पता है कि ये solution उसको ही fit होगा,
Hmm.
right? So that is how, so we drill down to those, and thankfully to platforms like LinkedIn and say even on the programmatic side you can do those drill downs, right? You
Yeah.
can do those personal targeting. So that is how we do those targeting, ensure that quality of clicks. And like I always say, see, for me that engagement and click matters rather than the followers, right? So quality of conversation is always highest, and that's where this entire funnel kicks in. So I'll target them again, have my drip campaigns around them,
Hmm.
and do take them through the MQL.
Okay. Okay. ठीक है. एक सिर्फ लास्ट क्वेश्चन पूछता हूँ आपसे अब,
Mhm.
which is more around your own personal thing that you do. You are a startup advisor. तो आप
Yeah.
बहुत सारे startups को advise करते हैं. I'm assuming obviously in the field of marketing. So, did you ever thought of doing something of your own? If yes, कोई आइडिया खुद का जो बहुत पसंद है जिसके ऊपर आप काम करना, मे बी इन फ्यूचर 5 years 10 years डाउन द लाइन.
मतलब थिंग इज ऑलवेज सो, बोला ना वो टेक्नोलॉजी का कीड़ा है,
या.
राइट? सो समवेयर अराउंड दैट मार्केटिंग टेक्नोलॉजी, सो फ्रॉम द टूल्स एस्पेक्ट, राइट, कि हाउ
Hmm.
कैन आई डेवलप some tools around, say, either content, because there's a lot
Right.
of automation on the content side that is happening right now, right?
Yeah.
The traditional content writing role is kind of going away, right? So
Yeah.
how do you get those things into place, right? How do you make an intelligent content, I would say writer or bot or whatever, right?
Correct. Correct.
That is something that is being thought upon. देखते कैसे
Hmm.
जाता है.
चलो, गुड लक विद दैट सर. आई एम श्योर इट्स गोना गो वेरी वेरी अमेजिंग. अब लास्ट एक हमारा रैपिड फायर राउंड होता है. मैं आपसे
Mm-hmm.
फटाफट कुछ 5-10 क्वेश्चंस पूछूंगा, आपको क्विकली आंसर करना है आउट ऑफ द टू ऑप्शंस दैट यू हैव, एंड देन वी विल रैप अप द सेशंस बाय हार्ट 7. ठीक है, सो शुड वी स्टार्ट?
Absolutely.
ठीक है, तो द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज डू इट ऑल और गेट इट डन,
Get it done always.
क्वालिटी और क्वांटिटी,
Quality always.
ट्रेनिंग फ्रेशर्स और रिक्रूटिंग एक्सपीरियंस्ड पीपल,
Freshers love the batch.
ओके, हार्ड वर्क और स्मार्ट वर्क,
Smart work always.
वर्क फ्रॉम होम और ऑफिस,
Hybrid.
हाइब्रिड, 10 to 6 और फ्लेक्सिबल आवर्स.
When you love your work, you will love to do anything. There's no work hours.
इसका आंसर वैसे आपने दे दिया है, इनबाउंड या आउटबाउंड, सो आई एम कंसीडरिंग द आंसर इज आउटबाउंड.
Yeah.
इंसेंटिव और नो इंसेंटिव,
Incentivize with the right targets.
कोल्ड ईमेल और कोल्ड कॉलिंग.
I love cold calling, honestly.
चलो हमारा फायदा हो रहा है.
Absolutely.
मनी, रिकॉग्निशन और प्रमोशन.
Oh, nice one. End of the year, you still have to pay your bills, so money,
या,
yes.
ओके, दैट्स अमेजिंग. ठीक है, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर सच एन अमेजिंग सेशन, एंड बीइंग वेरी काइंड टू बी एबल टू बी एट अ पार्ट ऑफ इट. आपने बहुत टाइम दिया हमें. मैं आपको लेकिन सच बता रहा हूँ, मेरे पास बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस हैं, बट आई नो दैट वी हैव टू हार्ड स्टॉप एट 7, सो इट्स
We
जस्ट टू
should do a follow up. Right? We should do a follow up. I will love to answer.
एब्सोल्युटली आई विल डू दैट. वो 2-3 घंटे का रखेंगे, आधे पौने घंटे से कुछ नहीं होने वाला, तो लंबी बातें करेंगे उसमें. Okay.
Definitely,
So
we'll
thank
love
you
to.
so much for joining in. Before you कुछ आपको कहना है तो please do that, and then we'll wrap up the session.
No, so I have a very simple funda, right? And just two words to it, Fateh Karo, right? So in Hindi, again, chest Hindi, right? Do
Yeah,
whatever, right? Have this thing in your mind. Because work towards it.
yeah,
Mil jayega, right? So you'll get reach your goals. You'll ultimately do what you want to do. Again, I am a
yes,
prime example, right? So,
yeah,
like I said, I moved from tech to business roles,
correct.
alliances, kiya, pre-sales, kiya, marketing, kiya. Anything can happen, right? Be
Yeah,
open to changes. Follow your heart, right? End of the day, things will fall in place.
that's really sweet advice. Thank you so much, and thank you audience for listening in. We really hope that you enjoyed the session. Thank you, and have a good evening and a good weekend ahead. Bye bye.
Thank you so much for having me. Glad to be here. Bye.